Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated.
It's okay. Excuse me. Real quick, everybody. If you would like to go ahead and join me in prayer. Father, we are brought here before you today humbled as our friends, families, and leaders are gathered to celebrate our achievements. In this time of celebration, We thank you for guiding us through the trials and tribulations that paved the way to this moment. Each of us has a story written by your design to make us better, stronger, and more human. In your infinite wisdom, you placed each of us exactly where we needed to be, even if we thought we couldn't handle what was presented. But here we are, embarking forth into the world of leadership, having made it through everything with which we were challenged. Through your wisdom, we will be a beacon of light in this realm of darkness and harbingers of your justice. And with you beside us, we can rise to meet any challenge. Give us the strength to hold up those that look to us for answers as we do to you when we are weak. May our road from here be straight and narrow, and may we use this wisdom we have attained and the lessons you have taught us to hold ourselves accountable and to a higher standard than to those around us. Bless this place and everyone present, and let us all understand the significance of what we have achieved. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Senior Airman Butler Davis, for the singing of the national anthem, and Senior Airman Calderon for the invocation. Good evening. On behalf of the ALS staff, it is my pleasure to welcome you to this evening's graduation ceremony. I am Staff Sergeant Dylan Freeman, the newest addition to the ALS team, and I am proud to be your Master of Ceremony for this evening's event. Airman Leadership School is the first level of EPME for airmen and sets the foundation for graduates to become NCOs and supervisors. Thank you for coming to congratulate these students on completing this significant milestone. We would like to begin tonight's ceremony by introducing our distinguished guest, our host for this evening's event, the 317th Airlift Wing Commander, Colonel James Young. The 317th Airlift Wing Command Chief, Chief Master Sergeant Mark Umfleet. Yeah, there we go. The 7th Bomb Wing Commander, Colonel Ed Sumingel. The 7th Bomb Wing Command Chief, Chief Master Sergeant Eric Duggar. The 7th Bomb Wing Honorary Command Chief, Mrs. Judy Farmer and her husband, Alan. And our guest speaker for this evening's event, Chief Master Sergeant Jeremy Johnson. Also seated with us in our audience and watching are group commanders, squadron commanders, Chief Master Sergeants, First Sergeants that are critical to the success of each class. Please join me in saying thank you with a round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, the student speaker for Class 21C, Staff Sergeant Brooks.
Well, I didn't fall off the stairs, so we're off to a pretty good start. Good evening. Thank you again to our distinguished guests and leaders. I'm Staff Sergeant McCullough Brooks from the 7th Bombing Command Post, and had the distinct pleasure of speaking on behalf of ALS Class 21 Charlie this evening. This class is a diverse group of airmen with members from all corners of the United States who represent all manner of airmen and Americans, but out of everything this class represents, I'd like to talk about our collective age and education. In comparison to our peers in the bigger Air Force, we're younger and more educated by far, as I'm sure all the chiefs in the room remember from our lunch panel. The Air Force continues to call senior airmen to leadership and promotion to the NCO tier. We bring a variety of experiences and deployments to the table, and as such, we'll be better able to relate to our nation's youth as they join the ranks of the United States Air Force. With everyone wearing masks, or not if you're eating and drinking, and having worn them since March last year, it's clear to see the challenge this class has had to overcome. Through COVID, the Air Force has had to find a way ahead for everything, from sending B-1s to Norway and Poland to put the Russians on notice, and to educating and preparing the next generation of frontline supervisors. Zoom classes have not been the easiest thing, although I'm sure all the graduates tonight would agree that long days at home have been very nice. We've had to figure out networking and relationship building through a virtual environment, how to address meaningful and difficult conversations that we've dealt with this whole year from behind a screen, and how to grow together without the human factor involved. A lot of seemingly negatives, but as retired Admiral William McRaven said, millennials are the next greatest generation. And if you disagree with him, take that one up with him. Just as those who have come before us, we've had to overcome, and we have rose to the occasion, as we always have and will continue to do. And through this course, the biggest thing that we've taken away and will take back to the bigger Air Force is caring for the best weapon systems we have in our inventory, the person. This next generation of NCOs will be better prepared to take care of our airmen and execute the mission like never before. From here, we all return to our units and begin breaking the wheel and creating a more agile and lethal fighting force. Leaders in the room, be prepared. Our collective duty is to our airmen, and we cannot make this change or forge the way ahead without you. If we do not accelerate change, we will lose. We can't do that without your help. One team. One fight. We worked on that. It wasn't bad. On a final note, this class represents what is best about being in the world's greatest Air Force and the family that we're all kind of just put into. Thank you, everyone who's given us mentorship and guidance in the room, for helping us get to here tonight. We're honored to join the ranks of the non-commissioned officers and celebrate with you. Thank you for celebrating with us tonight, and we're looking forward to getting to work.
Thank you, Staff Sergeant Brooks. Seated among us and watching with us is another group of individuals who deserve recognition for their love and support during this course. Will the spouses and family members of Class 21C please rise? Tonight, 42 airmen will graduate Airman Leadership School and prove they are ready for greater challenges and increased responsibilities. Please help me congratulate ALS Class 21C on reaching this significant achievement in their careers. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we will dine plated buffet style. The tables have been numbered, so as we call your number, your tables may proceed through the line. Please wait for your tables to be called before you head to the back of the line. After everyone is finished with their meal, we will take a small break before we continue with the second half of our ceremony. During dinner, the students have produced a slideshow highlighting their time in ALS, which will be shown for your viewing pleasure. Without further delay, it's time to eat. Enjoy your meal. We will start with the head tables, followed by tables 3 and 4. You can now begin a line at the buffet. I would like to introduce our guest speaker for this evening, Chief Master Sergeant Jeremy Johnson. Chief Master Sergeant Jeremy J. Johnson is the superintendent for the 317th Maintenance Group, Dyess Air Force Base, Texas. He provides leadership and guidance to 780 enlisted members across 10 diverse career fields, maintaining 28 assigned C-130J aircraft valued at $1.9 billion. Chief Johnson is the principal advisor to the group commander on enlisted force career progression, utilization, training, organizational performance, readiness capabilities, and the health and welfare of 2 maintenance squadrons. Ladies and gentlemen, Chief Master Sergeant Johnson.
Well, thank you. So I'll start off with thank you, Colonel Young, Colonel Sumingale, Chief Umfleet, Chief Duggar, Miss Judy Farmer, and her husband, Alan. So I had to get that out the way first so that they didn't pull me off stage real quick. So I got it out of the way, now there's. So commanders, chiefs, first sergeants, supervisors, friends and families, and most importantly, graduates of class 21 Charlie. Thank you for having me. So proof that I am actually standing, we'll get it out of the way. Just want to get it out of the way. You never know. Someone's going to accuse me of not standing. So I don't use notes or outlines or any of that because tonight I want to tell a story. I tell stories. Some people accuse me of telling long stories, and my wife said I had 6.5 minutes, and there's a couple of people in here that are supposed to be timing me. So we'll try to be quick, be funny, and be seated. We'll go for that. So back when I was Staff Sergeant Johnson, maybe a couple decades ago, over a couple decades ago. I've been in 28 years. Give me a break. I had just graduated ALS, got my first airman, and I got lucky. I won the lottery, actually. His Airman First Class, Jason Moore. This guy was on fire. Made me look slow because he was motivated, he was dedicated, and he had a goal. So I got lucky. So just like any other good supervisor, I prepared for my first feedback session with my new airman. And so I set the tone, I did my outline, and then we finally met. Asked him some questions about his goals, his aspirations, his career, his family. And I was like, this guy is money. This is great. I thought I was a great supervisor at the time. And so about 6 months later, Airman Moore comes to me. He's like, hey, Sergeant Johnson, can you give me a ride at the Education Center? I was like, sure. He only had one car. He had a wife and a child. I was like, absolutely, I'll give you a ride. So he, 6 months in the unit, he didn't know everything, so I took him to the Education Center. This is back when you had to go talk to the counselor to sign up for classes, because one of his goals was to start education. So he was like, hey, if you don't mind, can you just kind of hang out in the waiting room? Because there might be some questions I don't know, and I really trust. I was like, sure, I'll hang out. So about 15 minutes goes by, and he comes popping in. Hey, Sergeant Johnson, can you come back and help me? I was like, sure. So I go in there, and as I step into the room, the counselor says, oh my God, I had to meet you. You're the best supervisor in the world. And I'm thinking, that's right. However, I didn't know what I was so good at. Well, see, what she had told him, what he had told her was, I had volunteered to take his first class with him. True story, this happened. And I was, because, the counseling session that I had done with him 6 months prior, not only did I ask him questions, he asked me questions. And part of the questions he asked me was, how do I be like you? And I was like, whoa, time out, brother. Let me tell you some stuff that you don't want to do. I said, don't be everything like me. I'm in 6 years. I graduated high school with an academic scholarship, and I still haven't finished a bachelor's degree because I joined the Air Force. Don't be like me. I have procrastinated for 6 years. Don't be like me. And so he asked me what was my goal, and I said, I would like to complete my bachelor's before I'm in 10 years. So you see, he took the initiative to set me up to finish my bachelor's. So literally, him and I took classes. We took 5 or 6 classes together. I gave him a ride so that I knew he got to class. He worked for me, so I knew he went to class because I let him go to class. Because he had never taken a college course, ever. But he trusted me. So I learned something that night that I'd never learned before, is leaders don't always lead. Sometimes the best thing you can do is follow. He taught me how to follow. And I have taken that lesson from Staff Sergeant Johnson over 2 decades ago. That's 20 years for you crew chiefs. There you go. I'm a crew chief, so I can say that. I took that lesson and I apply it all the time. Even as the maintenance group superintendent, there is still times today that I choose to follow instead. I don't know if anybody knows Master Sergeant Jason McGinnis. So what, my bio doesn't say is, I got my PMP recently, but it was because of not my efforts, because of someone else. Master Sergeant Jason McGinnis also did the boot camp, but he did something I didn't do. He took the test, and he passed. And then he tells me, "Hey, Chief, I know you took the class. When are you taking the test?" And I was like, I really hadn't planned on doing that. He goes, "But I passed. You're smarter than I am. I know you can pass." The next 3 months I studied so I could take the test. I chose to follow. So, graduates, never pass an opportunity up to follow, because sometimes that can make you the best leaders. Never pass an opportunity up to just be silent and listen. Lesson my dad taught me. So, if you remember anything, just remember, great leaders are good followers first. And if you do that, you're limitless. Anybody time me? I think I hit the time. That's all I have. Thank you for having me. Thank you for enduring one of my stories, as I have many. And if you ever want to hear more, I'll be around the corner later. But thank you for having me.
Thank you for the inspirational words, and thank you for your ongoing support and guidance for our enlisted airmen. ALS is not an easy course to pass. 24 academic days, 192 curriculum hours, and a significant amount of homework and additional preparation can make this a challenging obstacle on the road to becoming an NCO and a supervisor. Some members of this class not only met the requirements to graduate, but exceeded the minimums and earned additional distinction as award recipients. We would like to recognize those individuals at this time. As we do so, please feel free to show some unit pride. Our first award is the Academic Achievement Award. Today's award is presented by Technical Sergeant Sharon Minnick. The Academic Achievement Award denotes excellence as a scholar. It is presented to the student who achieved the highest academic standing of the curriculum and is exclusive of the John L. Levito Award. The academic extraordinaire and winner of the Academic Achievement Award for Class 21 Charlie is from the 7th Component Maintenance Squadron, Senior Airman Alexander Denning. Please come on up, sir. Dyess 5-6 supports ALS by presenting tonight's award winner with a 1-year membership. Congratulations, Senior Airman Denning. Our next award is the Commandants Award. The Commandants Award is presented to the student who demonstrated superior leadership throughout the class. From each flight, a nominee emerges. Nominees, please stand when your name is called. Lancer Flight's nominee from the 317th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Senior Airman Ramsey Schrang. Black Hawk Flight's nominee from the 7th Munitions Squadron, Senior Airman Kennedy Calderon. Hurt Flight's nominee from the 7th Bomb Wing, Staff Sergeant Makoa Brooks. From the 3rd Combat Weather Squadron, Fort Hood, Texas, Staff Sergeant Matthew E. Carlson.
Always in the fight.
From the 7th Equipment Maintenance Squadron, Senior Airman Trevor D. Burns. From the 7th Maintenance Group, Senior Airman Jalen R. Childs. From the 7th Equipment Maintenance Squadron, Senior Airman Corey D. Dudley, Jr. From the 7th Component Maintenance Squadron, Senior Airman Clayton F. Park. From the 317th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Senior Airman Hunter D. Keys. From the 7th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Senior Airman Jordan J. McCants. From the 40th Airlift Squadron, Senior Airman Brooklyn M. Pettiford. From the 317th Operations Support Squadron, Senior Airman Paige L. Highland. From the 7th Security Forces Squadron, Senior Airman Christian A. Regalado. From the 7th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Senior Airman Marvin G. Reynoso. From the 317th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron and tonight's Distinguished Graduate and Commandant Award winner, Senior Airman Ramsey L. Schrank. From the 7th Operational Medical Readiness Squadron, Senior Airman Erica Shane S. Sahlberg. From the 7th Munitions Squadron, Senior Airman Zachary C. Stein. Introducing Staff Sergeant Strickland's Black Hawk Flight, it is my pleasure to announce his newest graduates, beginning with the flight leader. From the 317th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Staff Sergeant Cody J.D. Gordon. From the 7th Maintenance Group, Senior Airman Bakhtiar Halam. From the 7th Maintenance Group, Senior Airman Juan J. Uelas. From the 317th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Senior Airman Brock E. Cook.
Glad to have you back.
From the 7th Force Support Squadron, Senior Airman Hector A. De Los Santos. From the 317th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Senior Airman Eric D. Ingblum. From the 317th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, and tonight's distinguished graduate, Senior Airman Brandon M. Hansen.
Look forward to having you back.
From the 7th Security Forces Squadron, Senior Airman Dale M. Lambert. From the 7th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Senior Airman Vincent Lubit. From the 7th Operational Medical Readiness Squadron, Senior Airman Abigail K. Pennington. From the 9th Air Support Operations Squadron, Fort Hood, Texas, Senior Airman Shania T. Saunders. From the 7th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Staff Sergeant Tyler P. Worley. From the 7th Logistics Readiness Squadron, Senior Airman Soon Bin Yang. Now, introducing Technical Sergeant Ben's Hurt Flight. It is my pleasure to announce his newest graduates, beginning with the flight leader. From the 7th Bomb Wing, Staff Sergeant Makoa D. Brooks. From the 317th Maintenance Squadron, Senior Airman Donald Anderson. Oh my God. We weren't going to forget you. From the 7th Communications Squadron, Senior Airman Austin J. Aviles. From the 7th Equipment Maintenance Squadron, Senior Airman Terry D. Bennett. From the 317th Maintenance Squadron, Senior Airman Austin W. Blake. From the 7th Munitions Squadron, Senior Airman Taryn J. Brown. From the 7th Operational Medical Readiness Squadron, Senior Airman Praise A. Butler Davis. From the 7th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Senior Airman Daniel W. Copeland. From the 7th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Senior Airman Ronaldo D. Davis. From the 7th Component Maintenance Squadron and tonight's Academic Award winner, Senior Airman Alexander M. Denning. From the 7th Civil Engineer Squadron, Senior Airman Travion J. Francis. From the 7th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Senior Airman Gregory C. Howard. From the 7th Component Maintenance Squadron, Senior Airman Jose A. Rodriguez Rivera. From the 7th Logistics Readiness Squadron, and tonight's distinguished graduate, Senior Airman Charles A. Williamson. Ladies and gentlemen, the presentation of the Air Force Airman Leadership School Diploma to the Levito Award winner recipient signifies the culmination of 5 weeks of intense education and training. From the 7th Munition Squadron, Senior Airman Kennedy B. Calderon. I would now like to welcome Chief Master Sergeant Duggar to say a few words.
No words. I'm not gonna steal from Colonel Young, because that guy's funny sometimes. But I gotta have notes, because I'm not like Chief Johnson. He's a smart guy. He don't need notes. And then I don't have stories, except for if you want to hear about the one time, right? I was running from the cops. They let the dogs loose. I jumped the fence. I dodged a couple of bullets. I ran in the building. I enlisted in the Air Force. That's the building I ran in, right? And so that's what saved me. And then here I stand, Command Chief in the greatest Air Force in the world. Hey, that's a true story. I have run from the cops, just in case you wanted to know. Whew. So I'm not up here to say words. Non-commissioned officers are considered the backbone of any military branch. But before any airman become an NCO in the United States Air Force, they have to attend ALS, where they are mentored and trained by ALS instructors to become leaders. Tonight, I get to honor one of those chosen few, Staff Sergeant Andrew P. Ludwig. His legacy has been cemented through his dedication, his motivation, his hard work, compassion, and love for our airmen. Over the last 4 years, he's completed 23 classes. He's taught over 350 graduates. He's instructed more than 3,000 hours, and his impact has been felt through 4 MAJCOMs and 3 GSUs. As he returns back to his AFSC to be a 23371 vehicle maintenance, and he'll be stationed at Robins Air Force Base, we want to honor him tonight for his final class that he'll graduate here at Dyess Air Force Base. So while he walks up here so that I can say thank you, let's please do a warm round of applause for Staff Sergeant Andrew P. Ludwig. And then, like a great wingman, right? So what I want to say is y'all guys are nice. Y'all should stay standing. No, I'm joking. What I want to say is, I just want to, you know, what you do, what all the instructors do, you never hear thank you enough. It's the one thing that I've learned as a leader that we just try to tell all our airmen over and over again. Because you can never get enough thank yous for the things you do. You can never get enough thank yous for all the nights that you sacrifice. You'll never get enough thank yous for the courage that you display when you talk to our leaders. You'll never get enough thank yous for the leaders that you bring forward. But tonight, in honor of all the thousands of supervisors, the thousands of officers who've received the products that you have put out, I want to say thank you.
Thank you, Chief Duggar, and thank you, Sergeant Ludwig, for all you've done for this base. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Young. First, let me say, these are a lot more enjoyable when Colonel Sue McGill is speaking at the end. I know. Now, Sue McGill is doing what I normally do, just sit back, get chubby. Secondly, I have no time limit. My spouse isn't here, nor has she previewed my comments. Good luck to you all. I typically write out speeches because Chief Umfleet doesn't like me to come and speak extemporaneously. I've not done that tonight. I've got bullets, which the Chief hasn't reviewed. The reason that's critical is because I tend to go off script, and who knows what we will end up talking about. But tonight, as we're being recorded, I will also try and keep that on the up and up. But no promises. Good luck to you all. Good luck to me as well. Okay, so you did it. Congratulations. World's best ALS class. Woo! Who's seen the movie Elf? Right? You did it. World's best cup of coffee. Congratulations. Woo! And then later, if you haven't seen the movie, he brings his friend back in for the world's best cup of coffee. And she's blindfolded, and she drinks it, and he says, "What do you think?" It tastes like a crappy cup of coffee. So, a lot of you have, oh, are you saying our ALS class sucks? Oh, no, I'm not. A lot of you came with mile-high expectations, though, right? Super mile-high expectations. And some of you guys, those expectations were met. You're like, man, this is great education. Some of you thought you were about to enter a leadership laboratory, and you're going to have hands-on skills with real-live airmen to experiment on with real-life problems. And that didn't quite work out either, right? I mean, you know, PowerPoint and Zoom sessions and a couple times talking to various leaders is not that hands-on leadership laboratory you might have been expecting. Other folks are like, I wish I didn't have to do any of this. This is a bunch of BS. Just, you know, let me get my stripes and move on. I need my paycheck, right? So whether you're expecting a leadership laboratory or smooth sailing or some life-changing experience, and now you're like, well, now what? I made the milestone. I'm going to be at NCO. I'm getting promoted, and I got my education out of the way. You know, now what? And so maybe you're thinking you don't feel any different. Or maybe you do feel different. I don't know. Or maybe you're somewhere in between. I want to remind you all that ALS, as you probably heard, is professional military education, not training. Training is going to come in the unit. If you're confused between education and training, let me give you a great example. When you're in school, or if you have kids and they go to school, you want them to have sex education, not sex training. Right? Your parents did not want you going through sex training in school. One talks about the act and some things you might want to consider during it, how to be helpful, how to be safe. And then you go out into the real world, and then you get in that real life laboratory, right? And then hopefully you'll bring in some of those things you learn. Well, ALS is no different, right? You're about to meet up with the real world. So I'm being mean mugged by several people in this audience right now. You should know. Who are like, I don't know why. Sir, I've been an educator for 22 years. I do not appreciate your characterization of sex ed. Well, I'm sorry. Education teaches you how to think about things, not necessarily what to think. Training teaches you how to do it. Pardon the pun. How to do things. But we're all about leadership education. So it's how to think, how to do, lenses to look through. We put tools in your toolkit, right? Your leadership your leadership capacity is enhanced. But now you got to go out and do the real work, right? The real leadership laboratory is in your squadrons. So we need you to step in now and be leaders. Not the leaders you were born to be, because that phrase, you're born a leader, you're a natural leader. That's a bunch of BS. Not the leaders you've been to date, because you've had peer and informal leadership to date, so we need you to step that up. But the leaders, your squadron, your group, your wing, the Air Force needs you to be. And that's going to take practice. So we talk a lot about at the 05 level and above, all the way up to the 4 stars at the MAGCOMs, all the way up to the Chief of Staff of the Air Force. We talk a lot about the problems we've got in the Air Force right now. We're bringing in more troubled airmen than ever. We've got the highest suicide rates ever. We've got the oldest airplanes ever. We've got problems with China, Russia, Iraq. Nope, Iran. Well, maybe Iraq too. Iran, right? We got North Korea going on. We've got to do less or more with less every single day. We've got problems with extremism in our country. We've got problems with racism, some of that inside the gate, some of that outside the gate. These are all issues that we need to tackle and confront. A suicide epidemic. A lot is being asked of you. And when we talk to senior leaders, the very highest levels of the Air Force and the DoD, who, dear people, do they say are going to solve all of these problems for us? Front line supervisors. And who just turned into our newest frontline supervisors? Raise up your hands. That's right. So not only are you technical experts, you got to worry about readiness, resilience, suicide prevention, sexual assault. You got to teach your airmen how to do EPRs, discipline. You're that front line of discipline as well. You got to help transition people from the civilian world to the military world and help translate the Air Force into them. That's a lot of work. That's a lot to ask. Meanwhile, you're still figuring your crap out. I know that because I'm still figuring my crap out, hence this speech not being as polished as it should be. So what are the front lines? Back in George Washington's day, front lines were like, right? And me to you, sir, we'd be shooting each other with smoothbore muskets. That's a definitive leadership skill to look the enemy down eyeball to eyeball 30 yards away. That's a third of a football field, no more than from me to the back of this room. That takes some discipline. That takes some fear and discipline in the face of what is certain death, right? And in Washington's day, you had generals, you had officers, two kinds, officers and non-commissioned officers, right? And then you had privates. What does that mean, private? Private citizen, individual, opposite of uniform, not part of the whole, new. And that guy will get you killed because he's going to be standing shoulder to shoulder or right in the row behind you, and everybody's got to fire from multiple rates. So what do NCOs teach? Well, officers are out there marching with the men at the time, and they've got sabers, and if they're lucky, a pistola that fires one shot, and then you're like, right? we move past these days, but the skills are just the same. Are they not? So they had it bad back then, but it does sound kind of familiar. They had old equipment. Congress didn't pay them. There were awful winter storms the first 2 years of the Revolution, shitty weather. This sounds like this year at Dyess, frankly. Conditions in the camp were terrible. We had cold, mud, disease. Yeah, that's Dyess. It's all Dyess. So non-commissioned officers taught fighting and survival skills, and real ones that meant life or death for the people standing left and right. Today, the front lines stretch from deployments in the Middle East to the Pacific, to up at 30,000 feet in the back of the aircraft, to in a room somewhere on this base filled with computers, where the Chinese and others are trying to get into our systems. Front lines are here. Front lines are above. Front lines are at the ports. Front lines are in Europe. So the responsibilities of frontline supervisors haven't changed. What has changed is the threat is greater, more complex. We've got more complex issues to deal with. We're not just worried about muskets. We've got electrons flying everywhere, right? The specialization in our military has never been greater. We've never needed to be as smart as you are right now, right? So your job is still to transition airmen now as frontline leaders from the training pipeline and from being a private citizen to be an airman who is disciplined, productive, and a combat effective member of the world's greatest Air Force. And who better suited to do it than you? You just did it. You know the way. So, who's ever heard the saying, the Air Force doesn't care about you, Air Force doesn't care about me? That guy got screwed by the Air Force. Anybody ever heard that? Like the Air Force, them, they, this thing, right? You ever thought that or said that? What is the Air Force? A couple lines in Title 10 of U.S. Code. We got a flag. We got a chief of staff. We got a secretary. Department of the Air Force now, right? We've got our little portion of the Pentagon, headquarters Air Force. So when somebody gets disciplined or gets separated or gets bad news or gets promoted, they do that, right? The Air Force, those couple people I named off, the chief of staff, the secretary. No, that's just paper and positions and cloth. When you drive off this base and interact with members of the public, to them, who may not know anybody else in the Air Force, what are you? You're the Air Force. If you go out the gates and screw around, that's the Air Force doing that. If you go volunteer at a children's group or at a church or at an animal shelter or whatever, that's the Air Force doing that. Think about the airmen that you interact with, the things you do and you don't do. That's the Air Force. And for the most of the people you touch who are going to serve one enlistment and have a good showing of it and learn something and change their family tree and have life-changing skills and have a good experience with the Air Force, they're going to go out and be ambassadors for the Air Force. Who do you represent if you were their supervisor or their peer? Right now, you're Staff Sergeant Johnson. As the memory fades, you become the Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not the Air Force that doesn't care about people or treat them well or lead them well or give them opportunities. It's you. It's me. You are the Air Force. You are about to be an NCO. You are them. You administer discipline. You write an EPR. You sign somebody up for a class. That's the Air Force doing that. There is no ethereal them anymore. Congratulations. So, remember that. Remember who you are, remember who you represent, and remember the legacy that you're going to leave. We need you now taking this role seriously more than we ever have. Keep being the Air Force that we need you to be. I wish I had a joke or something to end on a very positive note, because this is all very solemn now. So I'll go back to where I started. You did it! Congratulations, world's best ALS class. Woo! Keep leading, keep fighting. Thanks. Thank you, Colonel Young. At this time, we would also like to give a special thanks to our Public Affairs Support Team, Senior Airman Porter, and A1C Brown.
Once again, if you are so inclined, please join me in prayer. Father, as our ceremony comes to an end, be with us as we depart. I ask that you remind us of the importance in our roles as leaders and what change we can make in the lives of those we lead. Grant us the wisdom necessary to make appropriate and fair decisions and help us to be humble. We thank you for your guidance in all things. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Senior Airman Calderon. As mentioned earlier, history is an important part of not only ALS and PME, but of the Air Force. Please rise and join us in reciting the Airman's Creed and singing of the Air Force song. Please join me in applauding our Air Force's newest leaders. Once again, on behalf of the ALS staff and Class 21 Charlie, thank you for attending tonight's ceremony and enjoy the rest of your evening.